Chosen one, stop everything and listen closely, because this is not just another message. It's a divine summons, a sacred invitation to step into the wealth God has already carved out for you. Picture a golden scroll unfurling in the heavens, your name written in radiant light, each letter pulsing with promise. This is your moment, the hour when heaven's economy aligns with your faith, ready to pour out abundance that will not only transform your life, but reshape generations. You've been waiting, wondering, maybe even doubting if God's plan for your prosperity would ever come to pass. But right now, the Creator of the universe is whispering, the time is now. Can you feel it? That stirring in your soul? That quiet knowing that something monumental is about to break open? This video unveils how your deepest fears, those sleepless nights, those moments of lack, are not barriers but the very keys to unlocking your divine provision. So, chosen one, lean in, because what you're about to hear will shift your perspective, ignite your faith, and set you on a path to a prosperous life. You've walked through valleys where scarcity seemed to cast long shadows over your dreams. Maybe you've stared at a bank account that mocked your hopes, or felt the sting of opportunities that slipped through your fingers. Perhaps you've whispered prayers in the dark, asking God, when will it be my turn? Those moments weren't random, and they weren't punishment. They were preparation. Every tear you shed, every door that closed, every delay that tested your patience was part of a divine blueprint, crafting you into a vessel strong enough to carry the overflow of blessings God is about to release. The Bible declares in Deuteronomy 8:18, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth." This isn't just a promise, it's a divine mandate. God isn't dangling wealth to tease you. He's positioning you to receive it, to steward it, to multiply it for His glory. But here's the truth. Wealth in God's economy isn't just money. It's peace that anchors you in storms, wisdom that opens doors, and favor that draws resources to your purpose. And it's already yours, if you'll agree with heaven today. Let's talk about fear for a moment, because it's the gatekeeper standing between you and your divine purpose. You know that voice, the one that whispers, "You're not ready, you don't have enough," or "What if you fail?" That fear isn't your enemy. It's a signal. It's the marker of a threshold you're meant to cross. Think of David facing Goliath, armed with nothing but a sling and unshakable faith. The world saw a giant. David saw a stepping stone to his destiny. Your fears, whether they're about finances, failure, or being seen, are not walls. They are invitations to trust God's provision. The Bible says in Psalm 23:1, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing." This isn't a poetic sentiment, it's a spiritual law. When you align with God's plan, lack loses its grip, and abundance becomes your new normal. So, chosen one, what if the fear you're facing is the very doorway to your financial freedom? What if the anxiety over your next bill is the prelude to a breakthrough that will leave you in awe? Let me share a story to ground this truth. There was a woman named Sarah, a single mother in her late 30s, working 2 jobs to keep her family afloat. She'd lie awake at night, her mind racing with worries about rent, groceries, and her children's future. But Sarah had a dream, a small business idea to create handmade candles infused with prayers, a vision she felt God placed in her heart. Fear told her it was impractical, that she didn't have the time, money, or connections to start. Yet one day, after a particularly tough week, she attended a church service where the pastor spoke about stepping out in faith. Something shifted. Sarah decided to trust God's provision over her fear. She started small, making candles in her kitchen after her kids were asleep. She sold them at a local market, and within weeks, a boutique owner noticed her work. That connection led to a contract, then online orders, and within a year, Sarah's business was thriving, paying off debts and funding her children's education. Her fear didn't vanish overnight, but her faith grew louder, and God's provision met her every step. Sarah's story isn't unique. It's a mirror for your own. Your divine purpose is waiting, and God is ready to fund it. Now, let's get practical, because faith without action is like a seed that never touches soil. God's wealth for you isn't a distant dream. It's a reality you can step into today with intentional steps. Here are 3 specific actions to activate your prosperous life. First, write down one clear goal for this week that aligns with your divine purpose. Maybe it's starting that project you've delayed, like launching a blog or creating a product. Be specific. Write, "I will draft my business plan by Friday," or "I will contact a mentor this week." Put it somewhere you'll see daily, like your mirror or phone. Second, reach out to someone who inspires you. A friend, colleague, or even a stranger whose work resonates with your vision. Send a message, ask a question, or offer to collaborate. Relationships are divine currency. God often sends provision through people. Third, dedicate 10 minutes each day to gratitude and prayer, thanking God for the wealth, financial, emotional, and spiritual, already on its way. Speak it aloud. I am ready for divine provision. These steps aren't magic, they are obedience, the bridge between your faith and God's overflow. If this message is stirring your soul, consider supporting our mission through Super Thanks to help us spread the truth of divine provision to more chosen ones like you. Your generosity plants seeds for others to step into their prosperous lives. And if you're feeling a spark of hope, type "I am agreeing with God's wealth" in the comments below. Let heaven see your declaration and join thousands of believers building a community of faith and abundance. Your voice matters, and your agreement shifts the atmosphere. But here's where it gets exciting, chosen one. Agreeing with God's plan doesn't just open doors, it swings them wide, revealing paths you never imagined. Picture a river, its waters held back by a dam of doubt, fear, and hesitation. The moment you say yes to God's wealth, that dam breaks, and a torrent of opportunities, ideas, and connections flows toward you. The Bible promises in Malachi 3:10, "Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." This isn't about greed, it's about stewardship. God's wealth equips you to bless others, to fund dreams, to break generational curses. Your agreement today isn't just for you, it's for the lives you'll touch, the communities you'll uplift, the legacy you'll build. But what if the next step feels daunting? What if the path to your wealth creation seems shrouded in uncertainty? Stay with me, because God is about to reveal the map hidden in your faith. You see, wealth in God's kingdom isn't about chasing money. It's about chasing purpose. Money follows where purpose leads. Think of Joseph, sold into slavery, imprisoned, yet elevated to Egypt's second in command because he stayed aligned with God's vision. His journey wasn't easy. Betrayal, false accusations, years of waiting. But every hardship honed his wisdom, preparing him to steward immense wealth for a nation. Your struggles have been doing the same. That job loss, it taught you resilience. That financial strain, it sharpened your resourcefulness. That dream you've held onto despite setbacks, it's the seed of your personal transformation. God isn't asking you to be perfect. He's asking you to be faithful. The Bible says in Proverbs 10:22, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it." This doesn't mean you won't work. It means your work, when aligned with divine purpose, becomes a magnet for divine provision. So, what's the dream God has placed in your heart? Is it a business, a ministry, a creative pursuit? Whatever it is, it's not too big for God's funding. Let's pause and reflect. You might be thinking, but I've tried before and it didn't work. Or maybe, I don't have the resources to start. Chosen one, hear this. Your past attempts weren't failures. They were rehearsals. Every misstep taught you something vital. Every closed door redirected you toward the right path. Consider Thomas, a young man who dreamed of opening a community center for at-risk youth. He applied for grants, pitched to investors, and faced rejection after rejection. Discouraged, he nearly gave up. But a mentor encouraged him to keep refining his vision. Thomas took the 3 steps we've shared. He wrote a clear goal to secure one sponsor, reached out to a local pastor for advice, and prayed daily with gratitude. Within months, a chance meeting at a community event connected him with a philanthropist who funded his center. Today, Thomas's work impacts hundreds of lives. His story shows that God's timing isn't about speed, it's about readiness. Your wealth, your breakthrough, is closer than you think. Now imagine standing at the edge of a vast field, golden with harvest, each stalk representing an opportunity God has prepared for you. The only thing standing between you and that harvest is your willingness to step forward, to trust that the ground beneath you is holy. Fear will try to anchor you, whispering that you're not qualified, that the economy is too unstable, that others are more deserving. But the Bible counters in Jeremiah 17:7, "Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him." Your confidence isn't in your bank account, your resume, or your network. It's in the God who calls you chosen. When you trust Him, resources align, doors open, and what seemed impossible becomes your reality. This is your spiritual awakening, the moment you realize wealth isn't something you chase, it's something you receive when you walk in divine alignment. As we move deeper, let's address a lie that may have taken root, the idea that wealth is unspiritual, that God wants you to struggle. Nothing could be further from the truth. God's heart is for your abundance, not just in spirit, but in every area of life. Jesus said in John 10:10, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." Fullness includes peace, purpose, and yes, provision. But fullness requires responsibility. God's wealth isn't for hoarding. It's for sowing into your family, your community, your calling. Those 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, praying with gratitude, are your first seeds. Plant them faithfully and watch God multiply them. You're not just building wealth, you're building a legacy, a testimony that will inspire others to trust in God's plan. But what happens when doubt creeps in, when the wait feels too long? That's where your faith journey becomes your greatest asset, and I'm about to show you why. Your faith journey, chosen one, is the sacred thread weaving together every moment of struggle, every whispered prayer, and every flicker of hope that kept you standing. It's not just a path, it's a divine tapestry, each thread a testament to your resilience and God's unending faithfulness. Picture yourself walking through a vast desert, the sand hot beneath your feet, the horizon shimmering with promises you couldn't yet touch. Those moments when you felt alone, when lack seemed louder than abundance, weren't meant to break you, they were forging you into a vessel capable of carrying the overflowing blessings God has prepared. The Bible declares in Galatians 6:9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That harvest is closer than you think, and your agreement with God's wealth today is the key that unlocks it. But doubt, that cunning shadow, will try to dim your vision. Let's confront it head-on, because your divine purpose demands nothing less. Doubt often disguises itself as logic, whispering, what if this promise isn't for me? Or, I've waited too long. But doubt isn't your truth, it's a distraction. Think of the Israelites, standing at the edge of the promised land, their hearts trembling with both hope and fear. They saw giants, but Joshua and Caleb saw God's provision. Numbers 14:9 records their bold declaration, "The Lord is with us, do not be afraid of them." Your giants, whether they're financial strain, missed opportunities, or self-doubt, are not the end of your story. They're the prelude to your breakthrough. God's wealth isn't limited by your circumstances or the world's economy. It flows from His eternal storehouse, and He's inviting you to tap into it by trusting His timing. Your faith journey has taught you this. Every delay was a divine setup, every closed door a redirection, every tear a seed sown for your prosperous life. Let's ground this in a story that mirrors your own. Meet Daniel, a graphic designer in his 40s who spent years juggling freelance gigs, barely making ends meet. He dreamed of launching a creative agency to empower small businesses, but fear of failure kept him stuck. Bills piled up, and self-doubt gnawed at his confidence. One evening, scrolling through YouTube, Daniel stumbled on a message about stepping into God's plan, and it hit him hard. He'd been letting fear dictate his future. Inspired, he took 3 practical steps. He wrote a clear goal to pitch his agency idea to 5 clients, reached out to a former colleague for advice, and began each day with a prayer of gratitude, declaring, "God is funding my vision." Within weeks, one client said yes, then referred him to others. Today, Daniel's agency employs a small team and supports his family's needs. His story isn't about overnight success. It's about persistent faith meeting divine provision. Your story holds the same potential, chosen one. Those 3 steps we shared earlier, writing your goal, reaching out to someone, and praying with gratitude, are your foundation. They're not just tasks, they're acts of alignment, signaling to heaven that you're ready to steward God's wealth. Let's unpack why they work. Writing your goal clarifies your vision, turning vague dreams into tangible targets. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." When you put pen to paper, you're committing your divine purpose to God, inviting His guidance. Reaching out builds bridges, because God often sends provision through relationships. Ecclesiastes 4:9 reminds us, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor." Your next connection could be the key to your breakthrough, and daily gratitude rewires your mind, shifting you from scarcity to abundance. Psalm 104 urges, "Enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise." Gratitude opens your heart to receive the personal transformation God is orchestrating. If this message is igniting your spirit, type "I am trusting God's provision" in the comments below. Let your declaration join thousands of chosen ones building a community of faith where we rise together into our prosperous lives. Your voice amplifies the movement, and heaven is listening. And if you're moved to support this mission, consider a super thanks donation to help us spread the truth of divine provision to more souls seeking their spiritual awakening. Your generosity fuels this sacred work. Now let's dive deeper into the heart of God's wealth. Wealth in His kingdom isn't just about bank accounts, it's about wholeness. It's the peace that steadies you when chaos swirls, the wisdom that guides your decisions, the favor that opens doors no one can shut. Revelation 3:7 proclaims, "What He opens no one can shut, and what He shuts no one can open." God is closing doors to lack and opening gates to abundance, but your role is to walk through them with bold faith. This isn't about chasing money, it's about chasing purpose. Money is a servant to your assignment, not your master. When you align with God's plan, resources flow like a river, not because you manipulated them, but because heaven ordained them. Picture a tree planted by streams of water, its roots deep, its branches heavy with fruit. Psalm 1:3 says, "That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season." Your season of fruitfulness is here, chosen one, if you'll root yourself in faith. But what about the waiting? The moments when God's promises feel distant, when your bank balance doesn't match your vision. Waiting isn't passive, it's active trust. Think of Abraham, called to be the father of nations, yet waiting decades for Isaac's birth. Hebrews 6:15 tells us, after waiting patiently, Abraham received what was promised. Your patience isn't wasted, it's building character, sharpening discernment, preparing you to steward wealth without being consumed by it. During the wait, God is teaching you to rely on His provision, not your effort. This is where positive psychology meets faith. Studies show that practicing gratitude and visualizing goals rewires your brain, increasing resilience and optimism. Combine that with prayer, and you're not just hoping, you're co-creating with God, shaping your faith journey into a testimony of divine provision. Let's address a subtle trap: comparison. You might look at others, colleagues with bigger platforms, friends with flashier lives, and wonder why your breakthrough hasn't arrived. Comparison is a thief, robbing you of the joy in your unique destiny. God's plan for you is tailor-made, not a copy of someone else's. Jeremiah 29:11 assures, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Your prosperity isn't delayed because others are ahead, it's being perfected for your specific calling. Instead of comparing, celebrate others' wins. Their abundance doesn't diminish yours, it confirms God's faithfulness. When you cheer for others, you're sowing seeds for your own harvest. Now, imagine standing on a mountaintop, the wind carrying whispers of your divine purpose. Below you lies a valley of possibilities, new ventures, healed relationships, financial freedom, all waiting for your next step. Fear might tug at you, urging you to stay safe, but faith is calling you to leap. The 3 steps, your written goal, your outreach, your gratitude, are your wings. They're not just actions, they're declarations that you're ready for God's wealth. But readiness requires surrender. Surrender the need to control every outcome. Surrender the fear that you're not enough. Surrender the past that tells you you've failed before. Philippians 3:13 urges, "Forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead." Your past isn't your future, it's your training ground. What's ahead is a prosperous life, overflowing with purpose and provision. As we press forward, let's talk about the atmosphere you're creating. Your words, your thoughts, your actions, they shape the spiritual climate around you. Speak life over your finances, your dreams, your relationships. Declare, "I am stepping into divine abundance." Words aren't just sounds, they're seeds. Matthew 12:37 warns, "For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned." Choose words that align with God's promises, not your fears. If you're facing a bill you can't pay, don't say, "I'm broke." Say, "God is my provider, and my needs are met." This isn't denial, it's faith in action, reshaping your reality to match heaven's truth. Let's revisit Sarah's story, the candle maker. Her breakthrough didn't come from a sudden windfall, it came from consistent, faithful steps. She didn't just pray, she acted. She didn't just dream, she built. Her candles weren't just products, they were prayers, each one a symbol of her trust in God's provision. What's your candle? What's the small, faithful action you can take today to move toward your wealth creation? Maybe it's signing up for that online course, drafting that proposal, or forgiving someone whose betrayal held you back. Every step you take in faith sends ripples into the spiritual realm, drawing resources, opportunities, and divine alignments to you, chosen one. You're not just surviving, you're being positioned for impact. God's wealth isn't about luxury for its own sake, it's about legacy. Your abundance will fund schools, feed families, launch ministries, heal communities. Picture a well, its waters overflowing, nourishing everyone around it. That's you. Isaiah 58:11 promises, "The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail." Your wealth is a spring, not a stagnant pool. It flows to bless others, and in blessing, you're blessed again. But what if the path feels unclear? What if the next step seems hidden in the fog of uncertainty? Stay with me, because God is about to part the clouds and reveal the divine strategy waiting for you. Chosen one, you're standing at the edge of a divine unveiling, where the fog of uncertainty is about to lift, revealing the path God has carved for your prosperous life. Picture a lighthouse piercing through a stormy night, its beams steady, guiding you to safe shores. That light is God's strategy, a divine blueprint tailored for your destiny, ready to illuminate your next steps. You felt the weight of questions. How will I pay my bills? When will my breakthrough come? Am I even worthy of this wealth? Those questions aren't roadblocks, they're invitations to lean deeper into faith, to trust that the God who called you chosen has already prepared the answers. The Bible assures us in Isaiah 30:21, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" Your divine purpose isn't hidden, it's being revealed step by faithful step as you agree with God's plan for your wealth. Let's unpack this divine strategy, because God's wealth doesn't arrive through chaos or chance, it flows through alignment. Alignment means your heart, mind, and actions resonate with heaven's frequency. You've already taken the first steps, writing your goal, reaching out to someone, and praying with gratitude. These aren't just tasks, they're spiritual acts, tuning your life to the rhythm of abundance. Now, God is inviting you to deepen that alignment by listening for His voice in the quiet moments. Picture a still lake, its surface reflecting the stars above. When you pause, away from the noise of worry, comparison, or hustle, God's guidance becomes clear. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness isn't inaction, it's the space where divine downloads arrive, where ideas spark, where clarity replaces confusion. Your next breakthrough isn't out there in the world, it's within you, waiting to be activated by trust. Let me share a story to make this real. Consider Maria, a teacher in her 50s who felt trapped in a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. She dreamed of writing a book about her faith journey, believing it could inspire others, but fear of rejection and financial strain kept her stalled. One day, Maria heard a sermon about trusting God's timing, and it stirred her soul. She committed to the 3 steps we've shared. She wrote a goal to complete 1 chapter by month's end, reached out to a writer friend for feedback, and began each morning with a prayer of gratitude, declaring, "God is funding my purpose." In those quiet moments of prayer, ideas for her book flowed like never before. Her friend connected her with a local writing group where she met an editor who championed her work. Within a year, Maria's book was published, earning modest royalties but profound impact, touching lives and opening doors to speaking engagements. Maria's wealth wasn't just financial, it was purpose, influence, and peace. Her story is your mirror, chosen one. Your divine provision is waiting for your next act of faith. But what about the moments when faith feels fragile? when the bills stack higher than your hope or the dream seems too big for your resources. Those are the moments when God's strategy shines brightest. Think of the widow in 2 Kings 4 who faced crippling debt with only a jar of oil. Elisha didn't tell her to wait for a miracle. He told her to act, to gather empty jars and pour out what she had. As she obeyed, the oil multiplied, paying her debts and securing her future. Your oil is what's already in your hands. Your skills, your passion, your story, the 3 steps you're taking, writing, reaching out, praying, are your jars, vessels for God's multiplication. Don't despise small beginnings. Zechariah 4:10 reminds us, who dares despise the day of small things? Your small steps, fueled by faith, are the seeds of your wealth creation. If this message is sparking hope in your heart, type "I am aligned with God's strategy" in the comments below. Join thousands of chosen souls declaring their trust in divine provision, building a community where faith fuels abundance. Your comment is a prophetic act, signaling to heaven that you're ready for your breakthrough. And if you're moved to support this mission, consider a super thanks donation to help us spread the truth of God's wealth to more seekers of spiritual awakening. Your generosity is a seed sown into fertile ground. Now let's address a subtle enemy: distraction. In a world buzzing with notifications, deadlines, and demands, it's easy to lose sight of your divine purpose. Distraction isn't just busyness, it's anything that pulls you from God's voice. Maybe it's scrolling social media, comparing your journey to others. Or perhaps it's clinging to relationships that drain your energy, or chasing quick fixes instead of God's plan. Distraction dilutes your faith, but focus amplifies it. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Seeking first means prioritizing God's guidance over the world's noise. Protect your focus like a sacred flame. Turn off your phone for 10 minutes daily to pray. Say no to commitments that don't align with your calling. Guard your heart against voices that sow doubt. Your focus is your currency. Spend it on your prosperous life. Let's talk about favor, because it's the divine accelerator of your wealth. Favor isn't luck, it's God's hand opening doors, softening hearts, and aligning circumstances. Psalm 5:12 declares, "Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous, you surround them with your favor as with a shield." When you walk in alignment, favor becomes your atmosphere. Picture walking into a room, your presence radiating peace, drawing opportunities without effort. That's favor. It's the unexpected job offer, the client who trusts you instantly, the idea that solves a problem. Favor doesn't mean life is easy, it means God's hand is on you, turning obstacles into stepping stones. Your 3 steps: writing your goal, reaching out, praying, are invitations for favor to flow. When you act in faith, God adds his signature, making the impossible possible. But favor requires humility. Pride blocks God's blessings, but humility attracts them. James 4:6 says, "God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble." Humility isn't self-doubt. It's trusting God more than your own plans. It's admitting you don't have all the answers, but believing God does. It's celebrating others' success without envy, knowing your turn is coming. Humility keeps your heart soft, your spirit open, ready to receive divine provision. As you take your 3 steps, do so with a humble heart, saying, "God, I trust your way over mine." That posture unlocks favor, turning your faith journey into a testimony of God's goodness. Now, imagine a golden key in your hand, etched with the words, "Obedience." This key unlocks every door to your wealth, financial, emotional, spiritual. Obedience isn't blind duty, it's active trust. When God told Noah to build an ark, the world mocked him, but his obedience saved his family. Your obedience, writing that goal, making that call, praying with gratitude, positions you for divine breakthroughs. John 15:7 promises, "If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you." Remaining means obeying, aligning, trusting. Your obedience isn't earning God's favor. It's accessing what's already yours. Let's revisit Daniel, the graphic designer. His obedience wasn't perfect. He doubted, he hesitated, but it was persistent. Each small step, writing his pitch, reaching out, praying, built momentum. One client led to 2, then 10. His agency didn't explode overnight. It grew through faithful obedience. Your wealth won't always arrive as a windfall. It may come as a steady stream, each drop a testament to your trust. Don't fear the gradual, embrace it as God's process, shaping you into a steward of His abundance. Your personal transformation is unfolding, not in a single moment, but in every choice to obey. As we move forward, picture a banquet table, its surface gleaming with treasures, peace, purpose, provision, all prepared for you. Hebrews 11:6 says, "Without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him." Your faith is your invitation to this table. You're not begging for scraps. You're a guest of honor, chosen to feast on God's promises. But feasting requires boldness. Boldness to dream bigger than your past, to act despite fear, to trust when the path isn't clear. Your 3 steps are bold acts, declaring to heaven, "I'm ready for my divine provision." Chosen one, the world needs your light. Your wealth isn't just for you, it's for the lives you'll touch, the dreams you'll fund, the hope you'll spread. Picture a city on a hill, its glow visible for miles. Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden." Your prosperous life is that city, shining God's glory. As you walk in faith, others will see it. Your family, your co-workers, strangers online. Your breakthrough will inspire theirs, creating a ripple effect of abundance. But what if the next step feels overwhelming? What if the weight of your calling feels too heavy? Stay with me, because God is about to equip you with the strength to carry your destiny. Chosen one, you're standing on the cusp of a divine shift, where the weight of your calling is about to be matched by the strength God is pouring into you. Picture a mighty oak, its roots deep in the earth, unshaken by storms, its branches reaching toward the heavens. That's you, rooted in faith, stretching toward your divine purpose, ready to bear the fruit of a prosperous life. The doubts, the fears, the moments when you felt too small for your dreams, they were not meant to crush you, but to strengthen you, to expand your capacity for the abundance God is releasing. The Bible declares in Philippians 4:13, "I can do all this through Him who gives me strength." This isn't just a verse, it's your reality. God is equipping you to carry the wealth, financial, emotional, and spiritual, that He's prepared for you. But carrying wealth requires courage, and courage begins with trusting that your divine provision is already on its way. So let's dive deeper, because the next revelation will ignite your faith and propel you into your destiny. You might feel the weight of your calling like a mantle, heavy with responsibility, yet shimmering with promise. That weight isn't meant to burden you, it's meant to anchor you in purpose. Every moment you've endured, every unpaid bill, every sleepless night, every dream deferred has been forging you into a steward of God's abundance. Think of Esther, a young woman thrust into a palace, facing a calling far bigger than her experience. Esther 4:14 says, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Your struggles have positioned you for this moment, chosen one. Your financial strain, your unanswered prayers, They weren't denials, but divine training, preparing you to handle the wealth God is releasing without losing your soul to it. Your prosperity isn't just about money, it's about impact, about building a legacy that glorifies God and blesses others. Let's make this tangible with a story. Meet James, a mechanic in his 30s who dreamed of opening a community workshop to teach youth trade skills. He faced constant setbacks, layoffs, car repairs, and a family to support on a tight budget. Fear told him his dream was impossible, but a spark of faith kept him praying. One Sunday, a guest speaker at his church shared about acting on God's promises. James took it to heart, committing to the 3 steps we've shared. He wrote a goal to create a workshop proposal by month's end, reached out to a local nonprofit for partnership ideas, and prayed daily with gratitude, declaring, "God is opening doors for my purpose." A week later, the nonprofit invited him to a community meeting where he met a donor who funded his workshop's startup costs. Today, James's workshop trains dozens of teens, breaking cycles of poverty. His story shows that wealth begins with obedience, not resources. Your story holds the same power, chosen one. Those 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, praying with gratitude, are your foundation, but they're also your launch pad. They're not just actions, they're declarations to heaven that you're ready to step into your financial freedom. Let's explore why these steps are so powerful. Writing your goal anchors your vision in reality, giving form to the dreams God has placed in your heart. Psalm 34:1 urges, "Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it." Clarity invites God's provision. Reaching out builds divine connections, because Ecclesiastes 4:12 reminds us, "A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." Your relationships are part of God's strategy. And gratitude shifts your perspective, aligning your heart with Psalm 34:1. "I will extol the Lord at all times. His praise will always be on my lip." These steps aren't about striving. They're about aligning with the flow of divine provision. If this message is stirring your spirits, type "I am carrying God's wealth" in the comments below. Join thousands of chosen ones declaring their readiness for abundance, creating a community where faith fuels breakthroughs. Your comment is a prophetic act, signaling to heaven that you're stepping into your prosperous life. And if you're moved to support this mission, consider a super thanks donation to help us spread the truth of God's plan to more souls seeking their spiritual awakening. Your generosity sows seeds for a global harvest. Now let's address a lie that may have taken root: the belief that wealth is out of reach because of your past. Maybe you've made mistakes, missed opportunities, poor financial choices, or trusted the wrong people. Those moments don't disqualify you, they refine you. God's economy doesn't operate on your resume, it operates on His grace. Romans 8:28 assures, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Your past isn't a barrier, it's a bridge, leading you to this moment of alignment. God is redeeming every misstep, turning losses into lessons, and weaving your story into a testimony of personal transformation. Your wealth isn't tied to perfection, it's tied to purpose. Picture a riverbed, dry and cracked from years of drought, suddenly filled with rushing water. That's your life right now. The dry season is over and God's provision is flowing. But to receive it, you must let go of old mindsets. Release the belief that you're not enough, that you're too late, that others are more deserving. Those lies are chains, and God is breaking them. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" This new thing is your wealth creation, your breakthrough, your divine destiny. It's not just about money. It's about peace that anchors you, wisdom that guides you, and favor that opens doors. You're not chasing wealth. You're stepping into what's already yours. Let's talk about stewardship, because God's wealth comes with responsibility. Wealth isn't for hoarding, it's for sowing. Picture a farmer scattering seeds across fertile soil, trusting the harvest will come. Your obedience, those 3 steps, is your seed, planted in faith. Luke 16:10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." God is watching how you steward your time, your talents, your relationships. That goal you wrote, it's a seed. That call you made, it's a seed. That prayer of gratitude, it's a seed. Every act of faith multiplies, drawing resources to your purpose. Your wealth isn't just for you. It's for the lives you'll touch, the communities you'll uplift, the legacy you'll build. But what about the fear of failure? It's real, chosen one. The world tells you to play it safe, to avoid risks, to settle for less. But God calls you to boldness. Think of Peter, stepping out of the boat onto raging waves, his eyes fixed on Jesus. Matthew 14:29 records, "Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus." Your wealth requires you to step out, to trust God over circumstances. Failure isn't falling, it's refusing to get up. Your 3 steps are your walk on water, small acts of courage that defy fear. Each step strengthens your faith, proving that God's provision meets you where you trust. Let's revisit James, the mechanic. His workshop didn't start with $1 million, it started with a proposal, a conversation, a prayer. Each step was a risk, but each risk was met with God's favor. A donor didn't just fund his workshop, they saw his heart, his vision, his faith. Your wealth will come the same way, not through manipulation, but through alignment. People will see your light, your purpose, and they'll be drawn to support it. Proverbs 18:16 says, "A gift opens the way and ushers the giver into the presence of the great." Your gift, your dream, your obedience is opening doors right now. Trust it. As we press deeper, imagine a golden compass in your hand, its needle pointing to your divine purpose. Every step you take aligns it closer to true north, God's plan for your life. The world will try to pull you off course with distractions, doubts, or demands. But your compass is faith, guided by the Holy Spirit. John 16:13 promises, "When He, the Spirit of truth, comes, He will guide you into all the truth." Listen for that still, small voice in your quiet moments. It might be a nudge to start that project, to forgive someone, to take a leap. That voice is your guide, leading you to a prosperous life where lack has no place. Chosen one, your wealth is not a fantasy, it's a promise, sealed by God's faithfulness. Picture a treasure chest, its lid creaking open, revealing jewels of peace, purpose, and provision. That chest is your inheritance, and the key is your faith. You're not waiting for permission, you're stepping into what's already yours. But what happens when the path feels lonely, when others don't understand your vision? Stay with me, because God is surrounding you with divine connections, and your breakthrough is about to accelerate. Chosen one, you're standing in a sacred moment, where the loneliness of your journey is about to be transformed by divine connections that God is orchestrating. Picture a constellation of stars, each one representing a person, an opportunity, or a resource, slowly aligning to form a radiant pattern in the sky of your life. Those moments when you felt isolated, when your vision seemed too big for others to grasp, weren't signs of rejection. They were seasons of preparation, refining your heart to receive the right relationships at the right time. The Bible promises in Psalm 37:23, "The steps of a good person are ordered by the Lord." Every step you've taken, every prayer, every tear, every act of faith has been drawing these connections closer, aligning them with your divine purpose. Your prosperous life isn't meant to be built alone. God is sending allies to walk with you, to amplify your impact, to co-create the wealth He's promised. So let's dive deeper, because the next truth will spark your hope and propel you toward your breakthrough. Loneliness can feel like a heavy cloak, especially when you're carrying a vision that others don't yet see. Maybe you've shared your dreams, a business, a ministry, a creative pursuit, only to be met with skepticism or silence. Perhaps you've poured into relationships that drained you, leaving you wary of trusting again. Those experiences weren't wasted, they were lessons, teaching you to discern who belongs in your inner circle. God's wealth for you includes people, divine connections who see your light, honor your purpose, and walk in integrity. Proverbs 13:20 says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Your next season isn't about quantity, it's about quality, about relationships that align with your faith journey and fuel your personal transformation. The 3 steps you've embraced, writing your goal, reaching out, praying with gratitude, are magnets, drawing these connections to you. Let's ground this with a story. Meet Rachel, a nurse in her late 20s who dreamed of starting a non-profit to provide healthcare in underserved communities. She felt isolated, working long shifts while her friends chased careers or social lives. Fear told her she was too young, too inexperienced, too alone to make a difference. But one day, a patient's gratitude for her care reignited her vision. Rachel committed to the 3 steps. She wrote a goal to draft a non-profit proposal by month's end, reached out to a mentor from nursing school, and prayed daily, thanking God for the connections already on their way. Her mentor introduced her to a local philanthropist who connected Rachel with a team of volunteers. Within a year, her non-profit launched its first clinic, serving hundreds. Rachel's loneliness didn't define her. It positioned her to meet the right people at God's appointed time. Your story holds the same promise, chosen one. Your divine connections are closer than you think. Those 3 steps, writing your goal, reaching out, praying with gratitude, are your bridge to these relationships. Reaching out, in particular, is a prophetic act, signaling to heaven that you're open to God's strategy. When you sent that message, made that call, or asked for advice, you weren't just networking. You were aligning with divine provision. Ecclesiastes 4:9 reminds us, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. God often sends wealth through people, a mentor who guides you, a partner who invests in you, a friend who prays for you. But divine connections require discernment. Not every hand extended is meant to hold yours. Psalm 32:8 says, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you." Trust God's guidance to show you who to welcome and who to release. If this message is stirring your soul, type, "I am open to divine connections" in the comments below. Join thousands of chosen ones declaring their readiness for God's plan, building a community where faith sparks abundance. Your comment is a bold yes to heaven, amplifying the movement of divine provision. And if you're moved to support this mission, consider a super thanks donation to help us spread the truth of God's wealth to more seekers of spiritual awakening. Your generosity plants seeds for a global harvest. Now, let's talk about timing, because God's wealth arrives in His perfect season. You might feel impatient, wondering why your breakthrough hasn't come sooner, but God's timing isn't about speed, it's about readiness. Think of Joseph, languishing in a prison cell, his dreams of greatness seemingly forgotten. Yet Genesis 41:14 tells us, "So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. In a single day, Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister because God's timing is precise. Your waiting isn't wasted, it's preparation. Every moment you've spent praying, planning, trusting has been shaping you into a steward of wealth who won't be swayed by pride or pressure. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." Your season of abundance is dawning, chosen one, if you'll keep walking in faith. But what about the moments when faith feels tested? When the bank account is low, the job isn't secure, or the dream seems out of reach? Those are the moments when God's strategy shines. Picture a potter shaping clay, each press and turn refining its form. Your challenges are God's hands, molding you for your prosperous life. Romans 5:3-4 says, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." Your perseverance is building character, and your character is anchoring hope. A hope that draws divine provision. Your 3 steps, writing, reaching out, praying, are acts of perseverance, proving to heaven that you're ready to carry wealth without losing your way. Let's address a subtle trap, the fear of success. It sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes we fear abundance as much as lack. What if wealth changes you? What if success isolates you further? These fears are lies designed to keep you small. God's wealth doesn't corrupt, it completes. It equips you to fulfill your calling, to bless others, to build a legacy. Psalm 112:3 says, "Wealth and riches are in their houses, and their righteousness endures forever." God's abundance comes with righteousness, grounding you in purpose. Your 3 steps are your antidote to fear, grounding your vision in action and faith. When you write your goal, you're claiming your right to dream big. When you reach out, you're trusting God's provision through others. When you pray with gratitude, you're anchoring your heart in His promises. Imagine standing in a vast orchard, trees heavy with fruit, each one labeled with your dreams, financial freedom, healed relationships, fulfilled purpose. John 15:8 says, "This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples." Your wealth is your fruit, glorifying God through your impact. But fruit requires cultivation. Your 3 steps are your tools. Tending the soil of your faith. Don't rush the harvest, trust the process. Galatians 6:7 reminds us, "A man reaps what he sows." Your obedience, your trust, your gratitude, they're seeds. And the harvest is coming in waves of provision, favor, and peace. Let's revisit Rachel's story. Her non-profit didn't start with a grand launch. It began with a proposal, a mentor's advice, a prayer. Each step was small, but each connection was divine. The philanthropist didn't just fund her clinic, he saw her heart, her faith, her purpose. Your wealth will come the same way, through people who see your light, through opportunities that align with your calling. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings." Your skill, your obedience, your faith. They're positioning you before the kings of your field, whether they're investors, mentors, or partners. As we press forward, picture a golden thread weaving through your life, connecting every moment of struggle to this moment of promise. That thread is God's faithfulness, and it's leading you to a breakthrough that will leave you in awe. But breakthroughs require boldness. Boldness to dream beyond your current reality, to act despite uncertainty, to trust when the path isn't clear. Joshua 1:9 commands, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Your 3 steps are bold acts, declaring to heaven, I'm ready for my divine provision.